Hi everyone, it's Rick Storley, new home sales coach, and welcome back to the sixth and final installment here on our 60-day strategic plan for home builders and remodelers and dealing with the COVID-19 response. We have worked on all sorts of things over this last 5 weeks, beginning with messaging and prospects, looking at leads and realtor outreach, doing virtual meetings, re-engagement, doing virtual events, working on video, showcasing your products, and then last week we ended up with Facebook Live. So what we're going to go back to and finish with is what I've learned after listening to all of you, dealing with clients, the questions you've asked, sharing what's been working and what hasn't. So we're going to talk about 5 things that we have learned and 3 to avoid as we go forward here. So beginning with the 5 things that we have learned is number one is that I don't know if any of us would have guessed that 2 months ago we would have said, hey, you know what? People will buy homes virtually. We've talked about it. People have designed software around it, but no one's ever really said, yeah, I've got it down to buy virtually. Well, lo and behold, yes, it is happening. It has happened, and it's going to continue to happen. People are buying homes virtually, sight unseen, and where the salesperson has never met in person with the prospect. So what do we know is that yes, it is happening. It's going to continue to happen probably for at least the next 12 to 18 months and could be well into the future after that. So case in point, what I want to get across here is make sure you're updating your sales process so you can work 100% virtual. And of all the platforms that I've heard, Zoom hands down is the big winner. Second thing that we have learned is if we look at video versus the written word. Maybe it's because of the quarantine, maybe it's because of the social distancing, but for whatever reason, video versus the written word or the spoken word is the by far the best way to communicate today. So how I've seen video used. Number one, recording short videos for doing an initial follow-up for new leads. Something where you can get your personality across, perhaps something where you're even in your community, in your model home, in your showroom, your model center, whatever it is. Also, using Facebook and Instagram Live has been great. And then live and recorded personal home tours. And I say personal home tours because the old Matterport tours or the old virtual tours where it's just a string of a picture show, that hasn't been effective. It's the personality where you can come out and you can use the spoken word, you can use your body language, and you can use your tone of voice, much like I'm doing right now. The third thing we have learned is that looking at organic social media versus ads. And what happened during all this and continue to happen today is that Zoom brought people into our homes. So that whole ad, sterile, old, tried, and true ad of where it's just your corporate branding and here's what we've got for sale. It's just not really working right now. What is working is the organic social media, things where it shows you're real people, you're trying to work within your communities. Real estate obviously is all local, and you're selling, building, and remodeling homes today. So it's very important, I think, that we stay on this and stay personal with our social media posts. Now, that doesn't mean I'm not going to say promote a post or put an ad on YouTube with video. I'm going to do that, but I'm going to keep them organic and personal just to sort of match what everyone else is feeling today. Online tools versus offline tools. In the past, historically, what we've done is we've given just enough online in order to get people to contact us so we can get them on site. And it's worked very, very well. Well, now we've got to attract them online, but then we're keeping them online. So things have changed. So a lot of times, a lot of the tools that we've held back, like, okay, well, you'll get that when we get to this part, we need to push them forward. And so what I mean is giving those leads the resources to pre-plan and dream. So anything and everything that you would give probably your prospects deeper into your sales process, you're going to start giving your leads right now. And that show them again, uh, maybe your appliance packages, your light fixtures packages, your plumbing fixtures, your flooring. Use any and all online tools you can for doing selections. Make sure all your floor plans are available. You've got details on all your available home sites and your locations. We've got to keep people engaged in the pre-planning. Because why? Everyone has a different tolerance for when they're going to re-engage. Don't wait for them. And what I mean by that is that we have to continue to feed them good, relevant information, not knowing when they're going to say, okay, I'm ready, and they're going to reach out to you. And by that time, maybe you'll be meeting them in person, maybe you'll continue with virtual. You'll probably be doing some sort of an in-between. And realtors now versus realtors in February. Real, because the vast majority of transactions in the marketplace are a used house versus a brand new home. We as builders have always needed realtors more than they've needed us. 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10, maybe 9.5 out of 10 transactions have been used houses. So we've always been courting the realtors. Well, what's happened, of course, is that inventory for used homes has dropped way off. A lot of people that were showing their home have stopped because of shelter in place, because of just being concerned about an outsider bringing the virus into their home. So unless that home seller has been able to vacate their home, realtors do not have enough inventory to show today. So they need home builders more than ever before because we have inventory. And obviously, if we don't have it up, we can build it. So now is the up time is to communicate and build relationships and really pour into your realtor outreach programs. So what are 3 things we want to avoid going forward? Uh, how do I put, I hope you don't work for Domino's or Pizza Hut, but if I hear, um, you know, don't avoid contactless pizza delivery. One more time, I think I'm going to throw up. But advertisers and, of course, companies have jumped on the fact that, hey, we're still doing business. I think we all need to draw a line in the sand saying, okay, this is our new normal. We're not going to remind people we're in a pandemic, but this is how we are doing business right now and into the foreseeable future. So case in point, my mom turned 77 yesterday. So I put that in the title to this video. What in the heck does it have to do with not reminding people about the pandemic? I've got twin girls. My mom and grandparents, is a grandparent and obviously wants to see their grandkids, wants to see their kids. And so we drove down to surprise her for her birthday and we did all of her social distancing. And as we're doing this, she's in tears because she can't hold her grandbabies. She can't hug her kids. She couldn't hug my wife. So she's so thrilled to see us. But on the way home, my wife said, we're going to do this social distancing for a while now. She goes, but your mom is 77 years old. My parents are in their upper 70s. I don't know how much longer they have, and they need to see their grandkids. They need to be able to hold them and they need to be able to enjoy them with what time they have left. We're all in line. We just don't know when our ticket is going to be punched. So I assume this psychology is going to start filtering in where people are going to do less and less social distancing. You just don't know when. And so open houses are going to start working again. On person or in-person events are going to start working again. We need to assume an economic recovery. People are only going to be pent up for so long. We've got to don't stop planting seeds. Okay, so I've heard from some salespeople like, hey, I try to reach out to people. I'm getting crickets, 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 crickets. I'm going to tell you right now, do not be discouraged. Continue to call, text, email, and post. Keep sharing your expertise and your offerings, even if it falls on deaf ears. And what I mean by that is that people are cooped up. They're tired of their homes. They want to remodel them. They want to buy new homes. They want to build new homes. So continue to feed them floor plans, locations, and pricings. Give them what they can build, where they can build it, and how much it's going to cost. This will pay dividends. We just have to continue to plant seeds. And then finally, don't look back. We got to stop looking back and saying, hey, well, when are things going to get back to normal? They're not going to get back to normal anytime soon. Okay, so let's just use milestone number 1. We have a vaccine for this, and the entire population has been vaccinated, or at least those that are at most susceptible or haven't already gotten it. Okay, so that's 12 to 18 months. So things are not going to go back to normal anytime sooner ever. Do I think that people are going to stop shaking hands? No, I do not. I think that we're going to go back to that, and relationships are, and in-person, face-to-face relationships are going to become more important than they probably have been since the world of social media exploded here, 10 plus years ago. Are they going to go back to normal? No, I do think things will be expedited. I do think there'll be a lot more virtual consultations, virtual planning. It's changed in almost every industry. It's going to also change in housing. So we don't want to look back and assume things are going to get back to normal. We need to be prepared for the future. And if we don't embrace this or at least accept it, it's going to be our downfall. Case in point here, I've been bringing you sort of the God's word through these first five lessons on how to handle this COVID-19 response. And what came today was this parable of the sower. And so I mentioned about sowing seeds. And so book of Matthew, chapter 13, verses 1 through 9 is Jesus, and he is talking about sowing seeds. Now, the context here is he's talking about sharing the good news or the gospel to people. And he says, when you share the good news, you're going to get four different responses. So I'm just going to read this here, and then we'll go back and look at how it affects us, not only as accepting Jesus as our Savior, but also going forward, what kind of responses we're going to get from people. So that same day, Jesus went out of the house and sat beside the sea, and great crowds gathered about him, so that he got into a boat and sat down, and the whole crowd stood on the beach. And he told them, told them many things in parables, saying, a sower went out to sow, and as he sowed, some seeds fell along the path, and the birds came and devoured them. Okay, so that's one thing that's going to happen is we are going to sow seeds, and they're going to get eaten up right away. People are just going to blow us off. Other seeds fell on rocky ground where they did not have much soil, and immediately they sprang up, since they had no depth of soil. But when the sun rose, they were scorched, and since they had no root, they withered away. Other seeds fell among thorns, and the thorns grew up and choked them. And I think that's right now what most people are happening is that the thorns that we're dealing with right now are all the news feed and the pandemic, and how many people died today. I mean, just think about it this way. If it was reported every single day how many people died of car accidents, or how many people died of cancer, or how many people died of a drug overdose, and we saw this in our news feed constantly, we would be paralyzed and panic stricken. We would want to drive anywhere if we were thinking about how many different car accidents there are each day. So people are getting choked by the messages out there. But this is what I want you to focus on here. Not only for those of you that have not heard the good news, the gospel of Jesus, but just going forward. Other seeds fell on good soil and produced grain, some 100-fold, some 60, some 30. He who has ears, let him hear. There are people that will be ready sooner, some later, to hear your response. And you may have given them engagement 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 times prior to this, but they need to hear it, and then when they are ready, when their soil is fertile, just like when you've heard the good news for the first time, you're like, man, I've never heard this before, but you hear it, you're like, yeah, well, you know what, I've heard this for many years, but I always ignored the good news. Well, that is the good news, both for those of you that have accepted Jesus, you know what it is, those of you who have not, and also what we are giving people is hope going forward here. We're giving them hope that we're going to continue to build homes, we're going to continue to remodel homes, we're going to get through this, and just keep bringing forth the message, planting those seeds, and I know you're going to be successful. So thank you so much for listening to this series. I hope it was really impactful for you. The previous lessons on 1 through 5, kind of what we did to get here, are right below this. Those are so valuable for preparing for the next 12 to 18 months. So I'd encourage you to jump into it. It's full of text message, or excuse me, email message scripts for leads, for prospects, setting up blog posts, messaging on your website, all that sort of strategy. God bless.